There will be a moment, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, when someone crosses the line. They'll say something that stings, do something that shakes you. And in that moment, your heart will race, your fists might clench, and every part of you will scream to react. But let me tell you something powerful. Silence is often misunderstood. Most people see it as passive, weak, or even cowardly. They think if you're not speaking up, you're losing the battle. But the truth is, silence is one of the most underestimated forms of power you can hold. In a world where everyone is trying to prove themselves, where responses are immediate and tempers flare fast, choosing to stay quiet after being disrespected takes a different level of strength. There's a reason silence feels uncomfortable to people. So, when someone says something offensive or tries to provoke you and you don't react the way they expected, it creates a moment of stillness that they don't know how to handle. That silence forces them to sit with their own words. It's a mirror. It reflects their behavior back at them with no distraction, no deflection, no argument to hide behind. It leaves them alone with the weight of their actions, and that's more powerful than any comeback you could ever deliver. Choosing silence doesn't mean you're ignoring what happened. It doesn't mean you're okay with disrespect. It means you're in control of yourself, and that kind of control, that's rare. Most people are ruled by emotion. They react quickly, defend themselves instantly, and let anger take the wheel. But when you pause, when you hold your tongue, when you walk away without saying a word, that's when you separate yourself from the chaos. That's when you show you're not just emotionally reactive, you're emotionally intelligent. Think about it. What really happens when you respond to disrespect with more noise? You give the other person exactly what they wanted. Your attention, your energy, your peace. You open the door for conflict to grow, but when you stay silent, you take away their power. You starve the fire they're trying to start. Second, you shift the focus from their words to your presence. You become the one in control, not just of the situation, but of yourself. And silence doesn't just affect them, it affects you. It gives you space. It gives you clarity. It allows you to process what happened before you decide how to deal with it. Not every moment deserves your voice. Not every person is worth your breath. Sometimes staying quiet is the most respectful thing you can do for yourself. It says, I don't need to explain myself to anyone who's already chosen to misunderstand me. That doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. It means you choose how and when to respond, if at all. It means you understand that not everything needs to be addressed out loud. Some things are handled by removing your presence, by keeping your dignity, by not giving them the satisfaction of seeing you unsettled. Silence speaks a different language. It speaks the language of calm in the face of chaos, the language of strength that doesn't need to shout, the language of self-worth that doesn't need validation. When you stay quiet after disrespect, you don't shrink, you rise above. You become untouchable because your reaction isn't just a reaction, it's a decision to protect your peace, preserve your energy, and keep your power. So the next time someone disrespects you and you feel that burning urge to snap back or defend yourself, pause, take a breath. Remember that silence doesn't make you small. It makes you powerful. Because while words can stir the moment, silence commands the room. There's a moment after someone disrespects you where everything inside you rises up. Your pride, your anger, your frustration, all of it demands attention. You want to say something. You want to let them know they crossed a line. You want them to feel the way they just made you feel. But here's the hard truth. Not everything deserves your energy, especially not disrespect. The moment you start giving your time, your focus, and your emotional effort to people who tear you down, you start handing over pieces of yourself. And for what? Validation? Revenge? To prove a point? To prove a point? That's a high price to pay for someone who probably didn't even deserve your presence in the first place. Every time you respond to disrespect, you pour a little more of your energy into someone who wasn't even thinking about your well being. That's like watering a plant. You don't want to grow, and you don't want to grow. Disrespect is never about you, it's about them. It's about how they feel about themselves. It's about their insecurities, their pain, their ego. When someone disrespects you, they're showing you who they are, not who you are. And the moment you internalize it, the moment you try to fight it, you're stepping into their world, the world of negativity, chaos, and emotional immaturity. You end up lowering your frequency to match theirs, and once you're down there, they've already won. Not because they were right, but because they got your attention. Your energy is your currency. It fuels your goals, your growth, your peace, your relationships, your joy. If you spend it all trying to manage the damage done by someone else's lack of respect, you're going to find yourself emotionally bankrupt. You'll get drained, burned out, and constantly on edge because disrespect isn't rare. And if you react every time it shows up, you'll never have time to focus on what really matters. People will say and do things to get a reaction out of you. They want to know they can shake you. They want to feel powerful in the moment. But when you choose not to respond, when you turn away and keep your energy focused on your own path, you're telling them loud and clear, "We're not worth my time." And that right there is the deepest kind of message. Because nothing confuses and disarms someone faster than being ignored when they expected chaos. You don't need to prove to anyone that you deserve respect. That's something you teach people through how you carry yourself, not how you respond to every attack. When you learn to protect your energy, you create boundaries without needing to announce them. You move different. You speak less, but what you do say carries weight. You stop chasing closure or validation because you understand that peace is more important than being right. Think about the future you want, the mindset, the environment, the relationships, the success. Now ask yourself, will any of that be built by arguing with people who don't see your worth? Will it be fueled by defending yourself to people who were never trying to understand you in the first place? No, that future is only possible if you learn to walk away from what drains you. Disrespect doesn't need a response. It needs distance. It needs silence. It needs you to stop treating it like it matters. Because the moment you start believing that you need to fix or fight every offense, you become a slave to other people's opinions. But when you hold your energy close, when you only give it to people and situations that truly deserve it, you take your power back. And in that space, you grow. You heal. You thrive. When you choose self-control, you're choosing mastery over yourself. It's one of the most powerful tools you can have in any situation, especially when faced with disrespect. There's an undeniable power in staying calm when the world around you is chaotic. And this power isn't about suppressing your emotions or denying your feelings. It's about choosing how to respond instead of letting external forces dictate your behavior. In a world where everyone is constantly reacting, self-control becomes a rare and almost magnetic quality. When you react immediately, when you let the heat of the moment determine your actions, you give away your strength. You give the other person the power to influence your mood, your thoughts, and your actions. You become a puppet of your own emotions. But when you practice self-control, when you decide to pause, breathe, and then respond, or not respond at all, you reclaim that power. You show that you're not controlled by the moment. You're in control of how you move through it. What many people don't realize is that the most powerful form of communication isn't always verbal. It's not the quick-witted comebacks or the loud, aggressive arguments. Sometimes the most profound message you can send is the one you don't speak at all. In fact, the quieter you get, the louder your self-control becomes. People may be expecting you to lash out, to defend yourself, or to react in a way that aligns with the drama they're trying to stir up. But when you choose to stay calm, you not only surprise them, you teach them something far more important: how to respect your space, your peace, and your boundaries. Self-control is the difference between being caught in a cycle of conflict and breaking free from it. Every time someone disrespects you and you choose not to engage, you're reinforcing the idea that their negativity is not worthy of your time. You're teaching others that disrespect doesn't get to dictate your behavior. And that's the ultimate lesson in emotional intelligence. It's not about being perfect or pretending like everything is okay. It's about knowing when to speak and when to let things slide, when to engage and when to walk away. And that choice comes from a deep understanding that not all battles are worth fighting, and not every opinion needs your defense. Think about it. When you let your emotions dictate your actions, you're often reacting out of hurt, frustration, or pride. But when you maintain self-control, your actions are driven by wisdom. You understand that reacting in the heat of the moment rarely leads to positive outcomes. It's in the pause, in the breath, in the stillness that you find your power. That's when you can choose your words carefully, if at all. It's when you can decide whether it's worth engaging or if it's better to simply let the disrespect fall away like water off a duck's back. One of the most profound things you can learn is that your emotional state is yours to control, not someone else's to manipulate. When you give someone else the ability to disturb your peace, you surrender a part of yourself to them. But when you choose self-control, you keep that part safe. You protect your mental and emotional health by not allowing others to control your reactions. You realize that your peace is not negotiable and that maintaining it is a higher priority than winning an argument. Self-control also teaches you patience with yourself and with others. It teaches you to take a step back and to really assess what's happening before making any decisions. It forces you to recognize that not every action deserves an immediate response. There is strength in waiting, strength in choosing not to engage in an argument that would only drain your energy. In a world that often values instant reactions and emotional outbursts, choosing self-control is a radical act of strength. It speaks volumes about your character, your emotional intelligence, and your maturity. It shows that you are not a slave to your feelings, but rather someone who is in charge of their own destiny. And in that space of self-mastery, you find real power. So when disrespect comes your way, remember that self-control is the ultimate form of communication. Sometimes the loudest message you can send is no message at all. Let your self-control speak for you, and let it be the loudest voice in the room. When someone disrespects you, it can be tempting to react immediately, to defend your honor, to correct a record, to set things straight. At ends straight. But what if, instead of engaging in the conflict, you let the other person reveal who they really are? What if you step back, observe, and allow them to expose their own flaws through their actions and words? In doing so, you not only protect your peace, but you also give them the opportunity to show their true character. And in most cases, their true character is exactly what will make you realize that they're not worth your time or energy. People who disrespect you often do so out of their own insecurities or unresolved issues. Their actions speak louder than their words, and their disrespect is often a reflection of their internal struggles. It's easy to get caught up in wanting to correct them or to fight back, but the real power lies in simply observing. By not reacting to their disrespect, you allow them to expose themselves, to show their lack of maturity or emotional intelligence, and you don't even need to say a word. In that silence, you hold the upper hand. Think about it. When you engage in the drama, when you argue back, when you try to defend yourself, you're validating their behavior. You're giving them the attention they seek. You're allowing them to keep you in a cycle of negativity. But when you stay quiet, you break the cycle. You don't allow them to pull you into their world of disrespect. Instead, you let them live in it alone, where their own words and actions will be their downfall. The more you engage with people who disrespect you, the more you allow them to dictate the terms of the relationship, whether it's personal or professional. But when you step back and give them the freedom to reveal who they really are, you take away their ability to control the situation. Shan, you see, people often act out of their own unresolved emotions, and when you react, you become part of the drama. But when you choose to stay calm and observe, you create distance. You allow them to show their true nature, and that in itself is often enough to make you realize that they're not someone you need in your life. When you let others reveal themselves, you also gain clarity. Instead of getting lost in the heat of the moment or trying to navigate an emotional maze, you step back and allow the situation to unfold. People who disrespect you typically want to distract you from your path, from your goals, and from your peace. But when you allow them to reveal their true intentions, you see them for who they are, and that gives you the ability to decide whether they should remain in your life or whether it's time to walk away. One of the greatest gifts you can give yourself is the gift of clarity. And by stepping back and letting others expose their true colors, you provide yourself with that clarity. You stop wasting time on people who don't deserve your attention or your respect. You stop investing in relationships or interactions that only bring negativity. Instead, you focus on your own growth, your own goals, and your own peace. You become more selective about where you invest your energy, and in doing so, you create space for the people who truly align with your values and your vision. When someone disrespects you and you respond by letting them reveal themselves, you also take control of the narrative. You stop allowing them to dictate the terms of the situation. Instead, you create a new dynamic, one where their disrespect is their own problem, not yours. You are no longer affected by their words or actions. You are no longer triggered by their behavior. You become the observer, the one who holds the power to decide how to move forward. Letting others reveal themselves means you don't have to waste your time trying to change them or fix them. You don't have to get lost in a cycle of conflict. Instead, you get to decide whether they belong in your life and whether their behavior aligns with your values. It's about stepping into your own power and not letting anyone, especially someone who disrespects you, derail you from your path. It's about protecting your peace and making sure that only those who genuinely value you and respect you have a place in your life. Ease. By letting others reveal who they really are, you create space for authenticity and honesty, both from yourself and from those around you. And in that space, you'll find that the only relationships that truly matter are the ones built on mutual respect, understanding, and love. In life, there are many things we feel obligated to give. Our time, our energy, our attention, our care. But there is one thing that should never be freely given away. One thing that is sacred, that belongs to you and only you. Fritzu. Too often, we allow others to disrupt the tranquility that we work so hard to maintain. We let their words, their actions, and their attitudes affect our mood, our mindset, and our emotional state. But the truth is, you don't owe anyone your peace. Your peace is yours to protect, and no one has the right to disturb it unless you allow them to. When you let disrespect, negativity, or hostility from others invade your inner world, you're essentially giving them access to something that is meant to be your sanctuary. Your peace should be the foundation upon which you build your life. The space in which you can think clearly, recharge, and maintain your emotional balance. When you give that peace away to someone who disrespects you or treats you poorly, you're letting them control how you feel. You're allowing them to dictate the terms of your emotional well-being. And when you do that, you lose a little bit of yourself. Your peace should be non-negotiable. It's not something that should be at the mercy of another person's behavior. Too often, we fall into the trap of thinking that we have to respond to every slight, every insult, every little thing that happens to us. We think that if we don't, we're letting someone get away with it, or we're being a weak. But the reality is, your peace is more important than any point you could make in an argument. It's more valuable than any verbal battle or any attempt to prove someone wrong. And when you let go of the need to constantly defend yourself or fight back, you reclaim that peace. You choose to rise above the drama and focus on what truly matters to you. Not every person who disrespects you deserves a response. Not every situation requires you to defend yourself. There will always be people who try to pull you into negativity, who will say things to provoke a reaction or to make you feel small. You're going to make you feel small, but you have the power to decide how you react. And in choosing to protect your peace, you send a clear message to those around you. I will not allow your energy to disrupt my calm. You don't have to engage. You don't have to justify your feelings. You don't owe anyone your peace. Think about the people who truly matter in your life. Think about the moments when you feel most at ease, most authentic, most true to yourself. Those moments are often free of unnecessary conflict, free of people who try to push your buttons. They are the moments when you're surrounded by those who respect you, support you, and understand the importance of peace in your life. When you prioritize your peace, you make room for more of these moments. You surround yourself with people who uplift you, not drag you down. You spend your time and energy on things that nourish your soul, rather than waste it on situations or individuals that only drain you. The beauty of protecting your peace is that it's a practice you can cultivate every single day. It's not something you have to wait for others to give you. It starts with making intentional choices about where you focus your energy and how you respond to challenges. When you feel the urge to react to someone who has disrespected you, pause. When you choose a measured response, you take back that energy and maintain control over how you feel and how you want the situation to unfold. You don't need to match someone's disrespect with your own. You don't need to win the argument. Your true power lies in your ability to stay grounded, to refuse to be swept away by the emotional currents others create. Imagine the impact of maintaining your composure, of responding with thoughtfulness, rather than defensiveness. In a world where most people react out of impulse or emotion, being the one who pauses, who thinks before responding, sets you apart. It sends a clear message that you are not easily manipulated by others' words or actions. It shows that you value your peace too much to let anyone disturb it. By choosing your response with intention, you demonstrate emotional intelligence and maturity, two qualities that are often overlooked but are vital for creating healthy, meaningful relationships. It's also important to understand that when you choose to control your response, you're not necessarily giving up your voice. You're simply deciding when and how to use it. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is remain silent, allowing the other person to stew in their own negativity, knowing that their words have no power over you. Other times, your response may involve setting a firm boundary or calmly explaining why their behavior is unacceptable. Either way, you're acting from a place of self-respect, not from a place of reaction or defensiveness. The beauty of being in control of your response is that it allows you to avoid regret. How many times have you lashed out in the heat of the moment only to wish you hadn't said or done something? When you take a breath and choose your response, you remove the impulse that often leads to regret. You avoid getting caught up in a cycle of blame or escalation, and you create space for a more thoughtful, productive interaction. Choosing your response is an act of self-respect. It's about valuing yourself enough to remain composed, no matter how others behave. It's about understanding that you have the ability to stay calm and choose how you navigate life's challenges, no matter how others try to provoke you. You are in control of your response, and with that control comes the power to shape your interactions, your peace, and your emotional well-being. No one else can take that power away unless you allow them to.